I originally wasn't going to watch The Puppetman, but then I realised that it was directed by Brandon Christensen, and he directed Z and Superhost, both of which are amazing films. He also directed Stillborn, which is up and down. It's not perfect, but there are some okay moments in it. So I thought, I'll watch The Puppetman because there's a good chance this will be amazing. Unfortunately, not. I think I enjoyed maybe 10 minutes of it. In fact, I wrote down, because it seemed like nothing good was happening, I actually wrote down all of the good moments. So at the end, with a huge spoiler warning, I will tell you those specific moments. And I might share my thoughts on the ending. I don't have that many strong feelings about the ending, but we'll get there with some spoilers in a little bit. This film was released in 2023. It is, of course, directed by Brandon Christensen, and it stars Alyson Gorske as Michal. And when Michal was little, her father killed her mother. Her father has obviously been in prison, and Michal starts to experience some strange things, and she begins to wonder if the strange things are happening to her because they happened to her father, and maybe her father wasn't actually responsible for the murder. And I don't want to say too much more than that at the moment. Obviously, when I go into the spoiler details, I will explain a little bit more about what's actually happening to her. But basically, it seems like potentially there was some kind of demonic, supernatural, paranormal force that forced her father to commit that crime. And now it seems like this might be happening to Michal. It's an interesting concept. It didn't completely grab me, which is why I initially wasn't really going to watch this film, until I realised the director had directed 2 amazing films. So I was very willing to give it a chance. And unfortunately, it's so boring. The good bits are amazing, and I will tell those in a moment. But I'd say 90, maybe more than 90% of this film is incredibly slow. It's not scary, apart from maybe 5-10 minutes of it here and there. I will explain the specific moments in a moment. But the performances are good. No problems with the performances. I think the use of sound effects, music, that all worked really well. I'm trying to find the positives where they are. But in general, it feels very dull, very underdeveloped. Pretty much all of the characters are boring or annoying. Not Michal. I thought Michal was a pretty decent protagonist, but everybody else felt kind of underdeveloped, poorly written, not very interesting, didn't really care for them. So when bad things start happening, if I don't care for the characters, it's not really going to create an emotional response for me. And it's not very scary either, so I'm not really getting very much out of this. We could condense this into 25 minutes. A little bit for setting up, a little bit of padding here and there to move things forward, and then the scary bits, and we would lose absolutely nothing. So it's not very well written, it's not scary, but the music and sound effects are good, the performances are good, and the concept is interesting, albeit poorly executed. So it's not the worst film ever, it's just not very good. Do I recommend it? Only if it really sounds like a concept that really appeals to you. Because otherwise, it doesn't really have much to offer, apart from maybe 10 minutes at the most. And I will now, with a huge spoiler warning, tell you what those moments are, specifically. So these are huge spoilers from now, and it took 25 minutes for anything to happen. And I did write it down, because I thought, well, nothing has happened, let me note down when something did happen. It took 25 minutes, and this is the part... Honestly, I really liked it. It's the bit where Charlie walks backwards and falls or jumps off of the roof. It was dramatic. It was unexpected. And I really enjoyed it. And of course, that lasted about less than 2 minutes, I think. It was very brief. And that's not necessarily to say it needed to be longer. But that was the first good thing. And then after that, nothing happened for quite a while. And then the next bit where I thought, hey, this isn't that bad, is when we had the 2 deaths simultaneously. We had the death with the weights, and we had the death with the burning book. Both of which made me feel really sick. And I'd say the whole thing lasted maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And it was phenomenal. as I said, when it's good, it's really, really good. So let's say that's about 6 minutes there. I am plucking these times out of nowhere, I'm estimating, but just to give you a sense of roughly how long the good bits last in total. And the other good bit, the last good bit, no, that's a lie, there's one other good bit that I'll mention. The steering wheel death, I thought was fantastic. Let's say no more than 2 minutes for that. So we're up to about 8 minutes. I thought that was very well done. And I really loved the standoff with the police officers. And basically we have officers pointing guns at Michael because they think that she's just shot an officer, but we, the viewer, know that he shot himself, controlled by Michael or this demon inside of Michael. And then there's this standoff with them threatening to shoot her. Are they going to shoot her? Are they going to shoot themselves? And actually, I think it played out really well. That probably lasted about a minute. So we're talking 9, maybe 10 minutes of genuine, heart-racing, quality scenes in this film. And that is it. Everything else is fluff, it's padding, it's not suspenseful, it's not scary. The characters are largely boring. Michal, as I said, is fine as a protagonist. She's not my favourite, but I didn't dislike her at all. So it doesn't really have anything to offer. The ending, I won't go into any detail about just because I don't have that many thoughts on it. I feel like it was kind of anticlimactic, but also a good decision, which might not make a lot of sense. But what I mean by that is that it felt believable as an outcome for the narrative. If you watch it, hopefully you'll know what I mean by that. But it didn't feel forced or unnatural. I believed that ending. I believed that that's how this story could end. But it wasn't exactly interesting. But it wasn't bad either. Do I recommend it? As I said, only if you think this really is a concept that you'll absolutely love. Even though I don't think it's very well executed. But if there's something about this that you think, yeah, actually I will probably like that, give it a go. Otherwise, you're watching a film that's about an hour and a half for about 10 minutes of suspense and horror. And unfortunately, 10 minutes is not exactly satisfactory for the most part. I really didn't enjoy The Puppetman. But I will say, if you watch this, and this is your first film from the director, or indeed if you also watched Stillborn and you didn't like this or that, please go and watch Z and Superhost. They are just incredible. The quality of those films, they're both far superior to The Puppetman and Stillborn. And I will absolutely be looking out for the director's work in the future. Unfortunately, though, The Puppetman just didn't work very well for me at all.